So when you think about increasing the value of your home, what actually comes to mind?
Oh, probably ripping out old cabinets.
Right, ripping out cabinets, maybe putting in granite countertops or, knocking down a wall for that open concept.
Yeah, the stuff that looks good on social media.
Exactly. But what if the real secret to a highly profitable bidding war isn't like a shiny new fixture, but a stack of incredibly boring paperwork?
Paperwork. Yeah, it sounds completely counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It really does. And that brings us perfectly to our mission for this deep dive. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating blog post called The Blueprint for Premium Property Profits.
It's such a good read.
It is. And our goal here today is to fundamentally change how you view home renovation. We want to shift your mindset from looking at your house as just a purely aesthetic design project.
Right, because that's what everyone does.
Exactly. We want to shift it toward managing the home as a corporate asset.
Which is honestly a massive paradigm shift for the average homeowner. Because the primary issue this source tackles is that every single year, sellers are leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table.
Tens of thousands.
Easily. And they aren't losing out because their kitchen backsplash wasn't trendy enough. They lose that premium markup because they fail to document what the text refers to as their equity trail.
Their equity trail. Okay. That sounds a little corporate and dry.
A bit. Yeah.
So let's ground this in a scenario that you can probably relate to. Imagine you're in the market for a used car. You're standing on the dealership lot, and you are looking at two different vehicles.
Oh, I'm picturing it.
The first one is flashy. Custom paint job. The interior smells amazing, but the dealer tells you there are absolutely zero maintenance records. Like, none.
That's a red flag.
Right. Now look at the car parked right next to it. It's a little older, maybe not quite as flashy, but this one comes with a meticulously organized logbook right in the glove box.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, I'm talking a record of every single oil change, every tire rotation, all of it documented with dates and receipts from licensed mechanics. So which one actually makes you feel safer handing over your cash?
You're going to choose the one with the logbook every single time.
Every time.
Because, well, at the end of the day, when large sums of money are involved, buyers do not trust a seller's word.
Nope.
They just don't. They trust undeniable proof. And when we apply that exact psychology to real estate, it really explains a lot of the friction in the market.
It does.
Because a buyer walks into a beautifully renovated, freshly staged home, and they're immediately hit with two highly conflicting emotions.
Oh, totally. On the surface, they love the way it looks.
Exactly. But underneath that, they are deeply, deeply skeptical. They're looking around wondering if that fresh coat of paint is just hiding water damage.
Or if the new drywall is covering up some highly dangerous DIY electrical work.
Right. They're worried it's just lipstick on a pig.
Because we've all heard the absolute horror stories, right? The nightmare house flip where the plumbing completely bursts, like 2 weeks after closing.
It's the ultimate fear.
So the core question is, how do we take this theoretical concept of building trust and provide the literal, tangible proof needed to completely eliminate a buyer's skepticism?
Well, according to the blueprint, to prove the value of what the buyer can see, you actually have to start by proving the integrity of what they cannot see.
Right, which leads directly into the first phase of this whole framework. And that is securing official permits and pairing them with what the text calls infrastructure photos.
And the directive here in the blog post is totally uncompromising.
It really is. It says every time you make a structural modification or upgrade the electrical panel or, relocate a plumbing line, it absolutely mandates local city approval.
You need to secure and physically save the final signed building inspector certificate.
Now, having organized permits definitely signals a baseline of integrity. I mean, it proves you didn't just hire a buddy to reroute a gas line for a case of beer on a Saturday, right?
Absolutely not.
But the blueprint takes it a step further with those infrastructure photos. And I have to admit, when I first read this part, I rolled my eyes a bit.
I get that reaction a lot.
Because, okay, let's unpack this. It advises taking high-resolution photos of every single pipe route, every wire run, every layer of insulation and structural beam before you put the drywall up.
Before the walls are closed.
Yeah. And my immediate reaction was, is anyone really going to care about a photo of drywall? Like, who cares about bare wooden studs?
Well, it definitely sounds like overkill until you consider where the real money in a renovation actually goes.
Oh, wait. Let me guess. It's literally an X-ray scan for the house.
That is a phenomenal way to frame it.
Right. You are providing a medical chart for the bones of the building.
It is exactly a diagnostic X-ray
Oh.
because the most expensive elements of any major home renovation are completely and permanently hidden.
Yeah, that's true.
Once that drywall goes up, the, thousands of dollars you just spent on premium copper wiring or reinforced structural beams, it all just vanishes from sight.
A buyer can't appreciate what they literally can't see.
Exactly. So by providing these X-ray photos in a portfolio, you are offering an immense amount of psychological comfort. You're proving that the cosmetic beauty on the surface is actually backed by structural excellence underneath.
Wow. And, it totally flips the power dynamic of the home inspection process, too.
Oh, completely.
Because usually a buyer hires an inspector who goes in with a flashlight, desperately hunting for hidden flaws so they can use them as negotiation leverage.
Right, they want a discount.
But if you preemptively hand the buyer these x-rays,
Hmm?
you're essentially saying, go ahead and look, here is the perfect skeleton. You're completely neutralizing their leverage before the negotiation even starts.
You're removing the mystery. And mystery is exactly what drives down offers.
Right.
But proving the walls won't fall down only solves half the trust equation. You still have to prove who put those walls up in the first place.
Which brings us to the second major hurdle. And honestly, this is a massive debate within the homeowner community.
The amateur versus pro debate.
Yes. We need to talk about itemized invoices. Because the blueprint insists that you must track every single dollar spent using paid invoices from licensed professionals.
No casual tallies in a spiral notebook.
Exactly. Formal business documentation.
Yeah.
But I want to play devil's advocate here for a second because there is a very deep, very real pride in being a DIY homeowner.
Oh, for sure. The weekend warrior.
Right. The person who watches 10 hours of tutorials, rents the tools, and just does the work themselves. Why couldn't you just do the work yourself and save the cash? I mean, a good paint job is a good paint job, right?
It's an incredibly understandable perspective. Homeowners naturally focus on their own effort and, of course, the immediate cost savings.
Because contractors are expensive.
Very. But the blueprint forces us to look at this strictly from the perspective of the broader market ecosystem, and specifically lenders and appraisers.
Okay.
Because an appraiser's entire job is risk assessment for a bank. When they see a newly renovated primary bathroom, they have to assign a hard financial value to it.
And if the work is undocumented?
Then the appraiser basically has to assume it was done by an amateur.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they cannot, by law and professional standards, value DIY work at the same premium tier as professional warranted labor.
So even if it looks perfect?
Exactly. A beautiful DIY tile job might look great today, but to an appraiser, it might also be hiding an improperly sealed shower pan that will, rot out the floor joists in 3 years.
So an appraiser is essentially forced to discount the value of the home just to price in the risk of amateur mistakes.
Precisely. And that's why licensed, itemized invoices are so critical. They prove legitimacy. They prove the work was executed by a registered business that carries insurance, operates with accountability, and actually has verifiable expertise.
It changes the whole mathematical formula for the bank.
It justifies a higher comparable bracket to the lending bank, yes.
Okay, that makes total sense for the appraisal side of things. But as I was reading further into this section, I noticed a secondary benefit to keeping these licensed invoices.
The tax shield.
Yes. And if I'm tracking the math on this correctly, this is actually a massive financial secret from the text. These receipts act as a financial shield for the seller when dealing with the IRS.
They absolutely do.
So let me make sure I've got this right. Let's say I buy a house for $300,000.
Okay.
And over a few years, I spend $100,000 on major renovations, like a new roof, an addition, and all of it is thoroughly documented with professional invoices.
Right, you've got the paper trail.
If I understand the concept of cost basis correctly, my property's baseline value isn't $300,000 anymore. It's $400,000. So when I go to sell the house for $500,000, I'm only paying capital gains taxes on the $100K of actual profit, not the $200K difference between the sale price and my original purchase price.
That is the exact mechanism. Capital improvements dramatically lower your capital gains tax exposure at the time of sale.
That's huge.
It is. You are literally using the money you spent on the house to shield your final profits from taxation. But, and here is the critical catch, and why the blueprint so heavily emphasizes itemized invoices from licensed professionals.
The IRS doesn't just take your word for it.
Exactly. If they audit your cost basis and all you can produce are a handful of faded hardware store receipts for like lumber and nails,
They'll reject it.
they will highly likely disallow the labor value of that improvement.
Yeah.
You lose the shield.
But let me push back on the reality of this for a second. Because let's say I put in a new HVAC system 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
Am I seriously expected to have saved a crinkled piece of paper from a heating company from a decade ago just to appease the IRS and some future buyer? That feels like an organizational nightmare for the average person.
Well, in the past, maybe. But the blueprint argues that in the era of cloud storage, there is zero excuse for losing an equity trail.
Ah, right. Just take a picture.
The moment an invoice is paid, it should be scanned or just saved as a PDF into a dedicated digital property folder. It requires about 30 seconds of effort per project.
But it protects thousands of dollars in tax liability down the line.
Exactly. And appraisal value a decade down the line.
So those invoices are pulling double duty. They're proving to the buyer and the appraiser that the home is a premium product, and they're proving to the government that your profits are legally protected. It's brilliant.
It's highly strategic.
So we've protected our tax liability, and we've proved the bones of the house are good. Now, what happens when the new owner actually moves in? Because the blueprint doesn't stop at just the construction phase.
No, it gets heavily into the day-to-day functionality of the home.
Right, which brings us to the third phase, material specifications, the contractor directory, and transferable warranties. And the level of granular detail required here is honestly what separates a standard home sale from a premium corporate asset transfer.
Granular is putting it mildly.
Yeah, the source doesn't just suggest writing down, we use blue paint in the guest bathroom.
Right.
It wants the exact paint brand, the specific color name, the sheen, and the chemical mixing formula from the paint can.
It's incredibly specific.
It wants the specific model numbers for the kitchen faucets, the exact batches of the hardwood flooring, and the scare numbers for the light switches. At a certain point, doesn't this cross the line from helpful to, like, obsessive?
To a casual observer, sure, yes. But think about the underlying psychology of homeownership for a second.
Okay.
Owning a massive physical structure is inherently anxiety-inducing.
Oh, absolutely.
The moment something breaks, or chips, or needs replacing, the average homeowner has a minor panic attack. They have no idea what part to order, who to call, or what color to touch it up with.
That is so true. We've all been there, right?
Yeah.
You spend 4 hours at the home improvement store trying to color match a patch of drywall from a blurry picture on your phone.
Yes.
And then you paint over the patch, and it still looks completely wrong when the light hits it in the afternoon.
It's incredibly frustrating, but providing these precise material specifications is like handing the buyer a user manual for a complex machine.
Ah.
And what's fascinating here is how the blueprint pairs this with a contractor directory.
Providing the physical history of the labor.
Exactly. You give the buyer the exact names, cell phone numbers, and email addresses of the master electrician who wired the kitchen island, the roofer who laid the shingles, and the lead carpenter who custom-built the cabinets.
Oh, I see where this is going. You aren't just selling a building made of wood and brick.
No.
When you hand over the paint codes, the model numbers, and the direct phone numbers of the guys who built it, you are basically handing over the source code, or like the operating system of the house.
The operating system, I love that.
It's like buying a piece of software and getting a fully staffed IT department included. Like, hey, if the kitchen lights ever flicker, don't call some random guy off the internet. Call Bob at this number.
Right, because Bob ran the wires in 2024. He knows exactly where the junction box is.
Yes.
That perfectly encapsulates it. It elevates the property from just a mere shelter into a fully supported system. And the final piece of that operating system is transferable warranties.
Oh, right.
A brand new $20,000 climate control system is valuable, obviously, but the text points out that it is infinitely more valuable if the warranty seamlessly transfers to the next owner.
So you compile the original certificates for the windows, the foundation work, all the major appliances.
Exactly. You clearly highlight the warranty transfer instructions, and you put them in one central location. By doing that, you're completely removing the anxiety of future maintenance for the buyer.
You're literally selling them their weekends back. They know they won't be spending their Saturdays crawling around a dusty attic trying to, read a worn-off serial number on a furnace motor.
Exactly. They have the source code.
Okay, so let's bring all of this together. We've got our X-ray photos proving the structure. We have our financial shields and itemized invoices proving the professional labor.
Right.
And we have our source code, our material specs, and our contractor directories. So how does a seller actually deploy this mountain of documentation, when it's finally time to list the property?
Well, this is where the strategy reaches its physical manifestation. The source material refers to this as the $500,000 binder.
The ultimate closing play.
It truly is. The directive is that when the time comes to place your property on the market, you don't just quietly put a for sale sign in the yard and hope the staging furniture does all the heavy lifting.
Because that's what everyone else does.
Right. Instead, you take every permit, every X-ray photo, every paid invoice, the paint formulas, the contractor directory, and those transferable warranties, and you compile them into a beautifully organized, heavy physical binder.
And you just leave it out.
You leave that binder sitting in plain sight, right on the kitchen island, during every single open house and private showing.
Oh, man. Picture the psychology of that moment for you, the listener. Imagine being a buyer walking into an open house.
It's stressful.
It is. You're stressed, you're skeptical, the market is super competitive, and you are terrified of making the biggest financial mistake of your life.
You're tapping on walls, looking for cracks, assuming the worst.
Exactly. And sitting right there, bathed in sunlight on the marble counter, is this master document, a physical, undeniable logbook that answers every single technical, structural, and financial question you could possibly have before you even open your mouth to ask it.
It creates a total cognitive shift in the buyer's mind. It provides a level of verifiable confidence that standard cosmetic upgrades simply cannot match.
Right, because high-end countertops are nice to look at, but undeniable proof of quality is priceless.
It triggers multiple offers because it proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that the house isn't just a quick flip. It is a meticulously managed corporate asset.
And the open market will always pay a premium for a well-managed asset.
Always.
It's all about removing friction, isn't it? You remove the inspection friction with the X-rays, you remove the valuation friction for the appraiser with the professional invoices, and you remove the anxiety friction for the buyer with the source code.
It is an incredibly powerful strategy.
It really is. And, it brings us to a fascinating, broader conclusion, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, step back from real estate for a moment and look at the underlying principle here.
I love where this is going.
If a simple, organized binder of paperwork, just a verified history of actions taken, can dramatically alter the financial valuation of a massive physical asset like a home, it really makes you wonder about other areas of life.
It really does. What other assets or projects or even professional skills in your own life are currently being undervalued by the market simply because you haven't taken the time to document your own equity trail?
That is a phenomenal question to leave off on. Document your work, build your binder, improve your value. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.